Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, rather, ladies and gentlemen. I wouldn't take a lot of time. Just a few small concepts is what I wanted to share with all of you today evening, especially with HR professionals. I thought this was a particular concept that I would like to talk about. And, uh, you know, honestly, for conferences like this, uh, one always prefers to be a first speaker rather than come in after a panel discussion. So when this was being designed, I wanted to be the first speaker, and there are three reasons for it. Reason number one, when you're the first speaker, your ideas are the first one that you speak with. When others follow up, those ideas become repetitive. When somebody else has now already spoken, some of my thoughts have become repetitive. So that's one. Second is you'll end up doing a bad job as a first speaker. The onus is on the others to clear the mess that you've created right now. And the third is when you're not the first speaker, for the bar that these four gentlemen raised up, now you're supposed to match that out. So I'll try my level best. Just need your attention for a few minutes for some concepts that I've got to share with all of you. Um, you know, I've spent a lifetime talking to corporate participants across in learning and development interventions and trying to tell people across that words have a role to play. And I believe that nobody understands this better and executes this better than HR professionals globally. And fundamentally, words have a role to play. And when you capture the right words, you stay with the essence of that right word and execute that right word. Um, Positive results are, but then a natural outcome to happen. So I wanted to speak a particular word to you in terms of where our essence should lie. But before that, if somebody at any point in time doubts that do words really have a role to play, and then there is this episode that you could share with them. I don't know how many of you know this, that let us say there is a set of people who've never ever spoken in public before, and you suddenly thrust a mic in his hand and say, why did you go and speak in public? Or you're facing a large audience and you're supposed to talk there. You ask people, what do you feel like? What is happening to you? Any idea what's the word that comes to your mind? You've never ever spoken in public before. Somebody gives you a mic in hand and say, okay, go and speak. What happens to you before, some moments before you take the mic? What's the word that you use? Any guesses? Fear? Any other word? Butterflies, goosebumps. Goosebumps is not the right word, but anxiety. You're anxious, anxiety, right? Now, I don't know how many of you know this, but anxiety is a medical condition, right? Now, when I say medical condition, I am not saying that it's a health condition. It's a medical condition in the sense that your pulse rate is up, your heartbeat is up, and your blood pressure is up. It's a medical condition. Three things are up. Now, just change the scenario and go back and speak to athletes. And we're not talking of ordinary athletes. We're talking of athletes who won Olympic gold medals. And before the event kick starts, okay, these athletes were checked for their medical condition. And now you know what was the medical condition? Their pulse rates were up, their BP was up, their heart rates were up. So therefore, what is the term for this medical condition? What are they before the event? Anxious, anxiety, because that's what you said, right? After the event was done with, and they won their gold, 150 athletes, gold winning athletes at the Olympics were asked that what were you feeling like before this event? And you know what all the 150 said? They did not use the word anxious or anxiety. The word that they used was excited. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, if somebody tells you words don't have a role to play, just quote this to them. The medical condition remaining the same, you change anxiety to excited and the outcome differs. The moment you say I'm anxious, you want to get done with it. The moment you say excited, the body language is about looking forward. And therefore, words have a role to play. This anecdote was just about to tell you that words have a role to play. And if words have a role to play, then one of the most difficult and the challenging job for HR professionals in time to come, a personal opinion, and this is what I want to share with you, is a singular word called balance. And I just want you guys to be a party to this discussion when I share this word called balance. I could have and tried and made attempt to sound more intellectual by not using the word balance and using a fancy word called equilibrium. Sounds more scientific and, intellectual. I prefer using a soft word called balance. And one of the most difficult things for people in life to do is to maintain balance. Some of the best philosophers, best poets, best authors, best thinkers, and best practitioners have across over ages and sages told you that balance is the key to success and that balance is the most difficult thing on earth to do. How do we let go of balance? Just imagine how important is balance and how we dilute the entire impact of it. So think over it. Courage. Such a nice word, right? Take it in excess, right? Could go to terrorism. Dilute it and could go to cowardice. Take sustainability. Take it in excess, right? Could go to rigidity. Dilute it will go to stability. And you can take multiple such examples. Take achievement. Take it in excess, burnout. Dilute it, only remains an ambition. So what gets ambition to achievement and what does not let achievement go to a burnout is a balance. And fundamentally, the entire essence of getting that balance right is the most difficult point in times to come. Let me substantiate this with a couple of things. We've all heard of Gautam Buddha. And, Gautam Buddha was asked, what is the secret of success? And he gave a one-word answer. He said, balance. And somebody there, the disciple asked him, what do you mean by balance? He just looked at his disciple and said, you play a sitar, right? The disciple looked up and said, yes, I do. He said, wonderful. Tell me what if the strings are too tight? He just looked back and said, it snaps. I said, what if the strings are too loose? He says, there's no music. He says, okay, then where is music? Answer, balance. There's a sage old story of a Greek architect, interior decorator, thinker, goes by the name Daedalus. I don't know how to pronounce it well. I'll give you the spelling, Daedalus. He was his king's favorite for designs of palaces and designs of prisons both. He was his king's favorite for thought processes. He was his king's favorite for a lot of things that the king did. He would go to him for opinions. One fine day, the king got angry with this guy Daedalus and imprisoned both him and his son. His son was a guy called Arachus. This was the king of a place called the king of Crete. And he imprisoned both Daedalus and his son Arachus. Where did he imprison them? He imprisoned them in a place where there was no land, no water, in the sense no access to land and water, and therefore the father and son just couldn't escape. Being the designer that Daedalus was, what does he do? He designs for the next few years wings for his kid and for himself using feathers and wax. And then he tells his son, it's time to fly. And we fly and escape this place. But before he takes that wings and flies, he calls his son Arachus and says, you know what, son? We are going to fly, but just remember one thing. We fly and not too low. Because if it's too low, the moisture in the water will suck you down. And not too high. Because if it's too high, the wax will melt with the sun rays. What was he talking of? Balance. And you know what the sun did? And this is where I want your attention. You know what the sun did? Got the wings, never flew in life, and then decided to take altitude. What did he miss out on? Balance. When we get wings, balance goes out of the window. And he took those wings and took that flight. Wax melted, the son drowned. The father drowned because he saw his son drowning. But guess what? Did I tell you this? Why did Daedalus and Arachus get imprisoned? Any guesses? He was his king's favorite. Why did he get imprisoned? That's where the secret lies. The king, after a point in time, thought that Daedalus knows a little too much. And the only reason why Daedalus and Arachus were imprisoned, because he knew too much. And too much was lacking balance. As Sant Kabir once said, and Sant Kabir was one of the most amazing thinkers of his time, and I'm going to quote this in the language that Sant Kabir said. And if it is for you to catch, and if you don't, I'll explain this. अति का भला ना बोलना, अति की भली न चुप, अति का भला न बोलना, अति की भली न चुप, अति का भला न बरसना, और अति की भली न धूप. Anything in excess destroys balance. Why am I talking this to a wonderful set of audience of HR professionals over here? You know, we are in times where the panel spoke of where every morning you get up and people are talking AI. And artificial intelligence and the entire drive of technology with artificial intelligence is somehow becoming the norm of day. And therefore, there are two questions that I have seen people ask. But before I go to AI and before I go to these two questions that people ask, I, in the flurry of speaking, forgot to give you my definition of balance. While I spoke of balance and what is balance, I'll give you my definition of balance, and I just want you guys to see if that definition makes sense. My definition of balance is the intelligent management. It's just not management, it's the intelligent management of contradictory forces. I want stability and I want growth. I want stability, yet I want innovation. I want autonomy and I also want alignment. I'm in for continuity, but I would also like change. Balance is always about the intelligent management of two contradictory forces. I'll come to contradictory forces in some time. But before I do that, you know, you get up every day morning and people are talking AI. And with AI, I'm sure all of you must have heard two questions, right? Should our organization should our organization invest in AI? Should our organization go for AI? Right? I'm sure these questions are there every day. Should we adopt AI is one question that keeps coming up. And the second question that normally people are talking of is AI going to eat jobs or is AI going to replace people? I'm sure these two questions have been there, right? And because of these two questions, there's this one contradiction, two contradictory forces that are acting together is, one, the entire pressure and force of adapting to AI big time. And second is the contradictory pressure of talking of this uncertainty that the panel was talking of. So you've got, should I go for AI, the pressure to go for AI, and that the contradiction of, the uncertainty that we're talking of. The request to HR professionals is for the AI times that we're talking of. How do we maintain a balance? And therefore, the beginning of balance is by changing this question on AI that people are talking of. Should I adapt to AI is a meaningless question because I don't think you have an option in terms of adapting to AI. What organizations and HR professionals need to ask is, how do I reduce the friction when I adapt to AI? And question two is AI going to replace jobs? You got to replace this question with another question, and that question is, what is it that AI will enhance if I were to use AI? If the start of application of AI is that, is it going to replace jobs? Words matter. You're going to look at AI replacing jobs. But if I were to change the direction of the question and say, what is it that AI can enhance? I am not necessarily looking at AI replacing jobs. It is the balance that I'm talking of. Now, with this entire dialogue that is going on with AI replacing and AI doing whatever AI can do, a very simple question to this elite audience is, what does AI do well? So let's make a list of what does AI do well. And there was some talk, I think one of the panelists actually gave a list of what AI does well. So what are the things that AI does well? Can you just make a very fast 5-6 listing of what AI does well? Any call outs from the audience? What does AI do well? Let's look at it. What does AI do well? Fast. Processes huge set of data fast, not information. Processes huge set of data fast. Second, one panelist spoke about it. Yeah, predictive abilities of AI. Third, content, creates content. You got it bang on right. Creates content. Fourth, does repetitive work better than anybody else? Come on, yes or no? Does repetitive work better than anybody else? And next, I don't know if you ever thought this, one of the biggest application of machine learning and therefore AI is pattern recognition. Get into patterns and recognize pattern. 6, mundane, repetitive, voluminous work, it does that well and better than anybody else. Look at the entire onslaught of AI and what it does well. And if I have to just put one word to it, is that it's a very strong technology-driven force that builds organization capability. It builds organization capability. That's it. Capability to manage big data, capability to give you content, capability to do mundane job, capability to do prediction, capability to do pattern recognition. Capability. Now I want you guys to just think over another word. Is capability equal to wisdom? No. Capability is one aspect of wisdom. So which means, are there other aspects of wisdom? And the answer is a big yes. And if there are other aspects of wisdom, then as HR professionals, our job is to balance how AI comes in and builds capability and yet use the wisdom of people to manage an organization where this friction is minimum. And then what are the components of wisdom other than capability that AI is not good at? And that is where I create balance, and that is where I drive organizations that manage people and manage AI. The plain Jane word use of AI is disheartening unless and until I use the word augmented AI. And augmented AI simply means AI for capability and augmentation of my human force for building other components that AI cannot do on wisdom. Which are those other components that AI can't do? It can only build capability. What are those components of wisdom? And that's for the audience to help me out. Come on. What are the other components of wisdom that AI, as of now at least, and I'm just being careful with my words when I say can't touch upon. Anything? One? Yeah? Wonderful. Please understand, ma'am used the word values. I'm going to give you a different meaning to values. Consequences of our decision. You see, please understand, why do we carry a value system? Why are we talking of values in the first place? Let us assume as human beings we get so insensitive to the fact that we don't bother about the consequences of our decisions and actions. The entire idea of value is to have this ownership and onus of the consequences of our action and decision. Imagine a guy who does not have a value system, doesn't bother about this. Why does a thief indulge into theft and you don't? You say it's my values, right? It's not values. It's values built up because you are bothered about the consequences of your action. And that's what builds up the value system up. Now what AI can't and what wisdom is, my ability to understand the consequences of my action. I keep an eye on the consequences of my action, right? Ask AI a command. I want to make a bomb to kill HR professionals in a room. And AI will give you the answer. An HR intern will tell you, why do you want to do this? Difference between capability and wisdom. The HR intern may know how to make a bomb, but will not want to do so. AI will not think about it. So one is, value, and I would call it as consequences. What is the other component of wisdom that AI doesn't have in terms of capability? Emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence. Next. And I want you guys to look at how these would become profiles other than AI. What else? Anybody? Somebody here said it. Judgment. Right? I can use AI to screen 1,000 CVs. Will you hire one using that? AI could screen 1,000 and give me 100. Tell me also which one is best. But at the end of the day, I would want to use my judgment. Right? Please understand, some of the best international bowlers today are pump fisting when they get rid of a 15-year-old kid today. An international bowler who's taken 200 plus wickets was jumping more than Virat Kohli when he dismissed this 15-year-old kid a week back. I'm talking of a bowler from New Zealand who was pump fisting when he dismissed Vaibhav Suryavanshi. The only reason why you see a Vaibhav Suryavanshi playing today is one guy used his judgment more than anything else to say that this guy has a bat swing that I have not seen in life before. And I would want to understand how many such cognitive AI models would be able to capture the web of Suryavanshis of the world. That judgment, so ability to understand consequences of our action, empathy, emotional intelligence, judgment, anything else that AI cannot do. Yeah? And that's your job. How do you motivate? How do you manage? Right? And most importantly, how to deal with uncertainties. And these are all job profiles and roles. And therefore, the idea is how do you balance this capability building and the remaining part of wisdom to make sure that you've got organizations that work with friction, with AI, with minimum friction. And the entire idea is to create that equilibrium. You know, unfortunately, what has happened, and this is something because I've been working with organizations, and I'm a little worried about this, right? And I'm extraordinarily worried about this. Organizations today are spending money like mad on technology without building other capabilities. You know why? Because investment on technology is the easiest thing to do. Building capability cultures, which are fast learning cultures, more than the change outside is not an easy thing to do. Second, organizations are today trying to automate processes that are broken, assuming that automation will structure those broken processes up. Third, organizations are digitizing confusion. Extraordinarily digitizing confusion. I come from academics. I don't want to name this industry. Some vice chancellor got fancy about digitization. And he says, wonderful, in my tenure, I'm going to digitize. Thousands and thousands of answer sheets. And you know what is the concept of digitization? They scanned all of them and got them onto the computer. Now imagine this pure 55-year-old teacher who's so habituated to doing this on paper is now suddenly sitting in front of screen and trying to find tabs which will help him put marks. And one poor teacher at 60 who could not do that asked his son to sit with him. Somewhere in the examination hall captured it. It was in the newspaper saying that this teacher is trying to use someone else to correct his papers. The bigger story was the teacher being castigated rather than the system which tried to use digitization for nonsense. And then what are we doing? You know, unfortunately, we're getting obsessed. Just a few days back, I met with an HR professional. He gave me a call. I don't want to name companies. I don't want to name people. He just called me up and he's saying, sir, you know, I just want to build up some agentic AI. Do you know somebody who can help me out? So I sat with him. He's like, why do you want to do this? He's saying, no, my L&D and all is going very well. But I just thought that, you know, logo ko acha lagega, mere logo ko acha lagega, if I can build up some agentic AI models. I said, what will it do? He says, no, I've got a huge set of 10,000 people. That agentic AI model every day in the morning will tell them some learning nugget or some, you know, course and all that they can do. I just want that to go every day morning. Can I build up agentic AI? I said, why? Why do you want to do it? He's saying, नहीं sir, आजकल सब organization में, सब department में कोई ना कोई कुछ AI के लिए कर रहा है. So even I want to do something on AI. You see the way AI has been thought upon now. People are getting obsessed about it rather than finding an application about it. I just want to have a check mark on my own review with my own boss that I did something about AI in the system. And that's exactly the problem that we are having with AI. I am, in my entire talk that I am doing with you, I am not by no means, you know, by even the slightest imagination trying to say that AI is bad, AI is to be demeaned, AI is not to be used. That's not the intent of my talk. The pure intent of my talk is that we are missing out on balance. We're getting obsessed about something. You see, please understand there have been technology drives earlier also. We had mechanization. That was the first technology drive. It was about reducing our efforts, reducing brute force. From mechanization, we went to computing. It was about reducing our load on data and making computing easy. Then we went to internet. It was about making our load on communication easy, making it responsive. Now we are in AI. And what is AI doing? Reducing our thought process, reducing our cognitive effort. So AI is about just reducing cognitive effort. The moment you stand to that and say nothing else, you're staying in a good space of balance. You know, I have been a very, very big fan of a big poet in this country, and he had this beautiful one-liner, and I just wanted to leave you with that thought as a one-liner. And it says, "Parwaz hai dono ki is fiza mein." Parwaz is the flight that you take. So, कोई पंछी जब उड़ता है, तो आप उसको बोलते हैं परवाज ले रहा है. Anybody flying is known as परवाज. आसमान में बहुत ऊंचे तक उड़ना. So, परवाज है दोनों की इसी फिजा में. So, there are two people, there are two entities who take big flights. Fiza is environment. परवाज है दोनों की इस फिजा में. परवाज़ है दोनों की इस फिज़ा में, गिद्ध का जहाँ और है, शाहीन का है और जहाँ. Gid is vulture, Shaheen is eagle. Both are known for huge flights. But the flight of the vulture awaits a death to scavenge, and the flight of the eagle is for opportunities. With AI coming in, what is your flight about? Is it the vulture or is it the eagle? Thank you very much for listening to me, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, and God bless all of you. Thanks.